Well, yes.
Well, I'm Hermine Simmons, born on March 28, 1927 in Langenbrunn am Main in Deutschland, or Germany.
And what were your family life? You had what was your father's name?
Hertug, French.
Hertug.
Hertug, Hertex, EUX.
And your mother? Your mother?
She was a Rupert, born Rupert, Mathilde Rupert.
Matilda Rupert. And how many brothers and sisters did you have?
Well, they had 5 children. Their first one died, but which I didn't know. But then I had 2 sisters and my brother Franz,
Okay.
which died in the war.
So in this town that I can't pronounce,
Langenbrunn.
so it was a little village.
Small village, 2,000 people.
2,000 people.
Yeah.
And did you live on a farm or?
Well, we weren't big farmers, but we had a little bit of field where you were growing your own potatoes and your own wheat or something for the bread. Huh?
A stickle?
A stickle, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Two stickles.
2 sticklers. Oh, you were the wealthy ones.
And we had 2 pieces of that used to be vineyards years ago, but they didn't grow wine there anymore. So we used it for grass, just for the goats. We had goats, and then we had big garden, and one was big garden there. We had lots of fruit trees on there: apples, pears, plums, cherries, whatever. We had that on there. So. And we had goats, we had geese, we had chicken, and we raised a pig, and we had rabbits, Stallhasen.
Now they were all raised for food, I assume.
They were for food.
Right.
They were nice and fat.
What was the line of your father's work? What was the line of your father's work? What did your father?
Oh, my father was. He was well. As I remember, he worked in a sawmill. But when he was young, they were him, his father, and his brother, and my father. They went like way down in Bavaria or Yugoslavia, so they made railroad ties. Those days they made them out of wood, and they made railroad ties. That's what was there. They were not home. They only came home still. I wasn't born then.
So he, okay.
And then later on, before the war, so when he got older, he worked in the sawmill.
Was that in town or was that?
That was the next town, the bigger town.
What town was that?
Gemünden.
Gemünden.
I mean, it was just 3 kilometers away,
Right.
Not far.
So what are your earliest fondest memories as a child?
As a child, well,
Like school or?
before I went to school, I don't know. My father used to take me up the hill and showed me where the birds were and what this and that. So I know, or he showed me a deer or some wild animal, and he taught me all these things. But then starting school, I'm 6 years old. That was when Hitler came to power. That's when I started school, and I only remember something. We always got a free Frankfurter and a lemonade on Hitler's birthday.
At school? Huh.
So I remember that. And I lived, very close to the church. It was just like this direction. We were like in the middle here. The church was here. And I had to cross the main street and just go down the alley. And was in school. The school was right there. And I was not an excellent student. My sisters, not me. I was the youngest, and I came late, so they didn't have that much smarts in them anymore. Anyhow, and I was a so-so student, But I always did my homework. I remember that. Sometimes if it was a subject that I wasn't too good, I didn't even go home. I would sit on the stoop at the school and did it right away, while I still remembered.
Right.
What else?
I think you once mentioned you had a very unusual house growing up.
Oh, the old house? Oh, gosh. It was in 1500, something like that, built. That was made out of straw and clay and straw Well, first they had oak beams to put the whatever the things there, and then they were weaving something inside like a basket, and that was filled with straw, a mixture of clay and straw. Yeah.
Right.
And the walls inside, some of them were still crooked, a little bit crooked. The outside was bricks. There was bricks, but the inside was. No, the outside was also the same stuff, the same material, but they were straight. I don't know how they did that.
Plumbing?
Did you have plumbing or no?
Huh?
Did you have plumbing?
Oh, we had it, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but no bedroom inside.
Okay.
No, we had the outhouse. And we had no electricity upstairs. I remember that was put in, I guess just before the war. Downstairs we had electricity, but not upstairs. So that was put in upstairs, just before the war.
Now, was this a family house? Like is this?
Well, we were 6 in the family. Sure.
Well, I mean,
Oh.
did you get the house from? Was it
My
lineage?
parents, I don't really know, because my mother was not from the village and my father wasn't born there either. They were from, my mother was born in a mill, in a flour mill in Alsbach, a small village close by. And my father was born in Rieneck, that was over the other hill. And so I don't know. My mother used to say there were 2 brothers. And it was actually like not 2. Yeah, it was later on. It was 2 houses, but somehow it was brothers, and they made 2 extra separate entrances to the things. They had one had this part, the other had. We lived in the front. I know that. And but later on, it was different people. It wasn't the same families anymore. So my parents probably bought it from them. I don't know.
And then made it into a one family.
But, yeah.
Okay.
So, and I remember when I came home from school, I obviously had chores to do. In the springtime, I had to take the baby geese down the river, or in the summertime, we had to go and pick blueberries, huckleberries, and stuff like that in the woods.
How'd you get the? I'm sorry, ducks? No, I'm sorry. Which you took them down to the river?
Oh, the river was just right down.
How'd you get them down to the river?
I just crossed the street and go down the
Yeah, but
back.
how'd you get the ducks to follow you?
Oh, the geese?
The geese. How'd you get them
But
to
the
follow?
mama, I had the little ones in a basket
Oh,
on the
so
cover, and the mama goose followed me then, down the river.
Why do you take geese to the river?
Well, the rest of the geese, they let them out in the morning after they were fed, then they go down the river by themselves. But I had to watch the babies, because the hawks come maybe or something, and they would steal them, the hawk. Or one of those big birds. And so after school, they had to wait until I come home from school, and then they were allowed to go down the river. And she would swim around and all, and then they come out and they eat a little bit, and later on I had to take them home again.
Is the house still there?
No, not anymore now. Now it's not. The neighbor bought it, the whole thing. The son from the neighbor bought it.
Knocked down a house from
He
1500s.
tore everything down and put a big mansion there now. This was the main street, and right next in the back were the railroad tracks. The train went by there, the railroad tracks, and so he tore everything down.
So, well, Andy said that you had a cute little story about the chickens.
Sorry.
Oh, in the car when we came here, I don't know what they were talking about, and I said, I said to Clint, I said, when a hen has an egg, lays an egg, a chicken has an egg. No, I said, you take the chicken and you put. Her head goes this direction, and the rear end comes that, and you spit on your middle finger and stick it out. That's exactly what it was.
And that's how you
You had
judge.
an egg, you had to stay in. That was it.
How many times did you spit on your finger?
Every time we had soap and water. We were clean. That was one thing. We were poor but clean. Everything had to be scrubbed all the time, constantly.
Now, as So during, I guess you brought up Hitler came to power when you first started going to school.
Yeah, yeah.
So how was life during, I guess, that reign before the war?
Well, once the whole thing, it was not nice.
Well, before war broke out. So you're
Yeah,
talking
still,
40s.
I mean, but when he was, because somebody's walking outside there. Later.
Oh, I think that's
Yeah,
Pat.
there's
It's a lady
the
smoking
smokers,
out
the
there.
smokers.
The
Well,
Hawkins.
10 meters.
You had, because, my parents, they were not in the party, they were no. And the teachers would always ask, what did your mother and father say? Because they didn't talk, so I couldn't say anything, but they always asked. So it was not, how can I say, you weren't free. You had to be very careful. My parents never talked in front of me about whatever they thought about Hitler or the war or
Right.
something. I mean, before the war, about Hitler. But I used to think when she used to go and vote for Hitler, something like, I used to say, bring me that, you could get like a pin or something like, bring me a pin. Because we had no money, I couldn't get these things, no jewelry, no nothing.
Did they force the children to be in the Hitler Jugend?
Oh yeah, I was in it, yes, I was in the Hitler Youth,
Yeah.
And later on the BDM, they called it Bund, I forgot what they called it. Yep, but my mother said, I have no money, you're not going to get a uniform. So I still have pictures when they had parades like May 1st or something like that. Another girl and myself, and I was on the tall side already, that we were always on the tail in the back. We had to march in the back because we had no uniforms. So that was not nice. And we were Catholics, and once a month you go to confession, and Sunday you have to go to communion. And you went to church and want to go to confession, and one of the boys came and said, and they had meetings, the meetings from the young males, whatever, the Hitler Youth. Don't you know, we have a meeting, get going. They chased us out. We had to leave there, we couldn't go to confession. I think that was terrible. But
In your little village, this was
in a
going on.
small village, yeah.
Oh, so they wanted you to go to the meeting.
Well, because they had meetings, but they could have had the meeting later. But
Right.
why do they have it when we have to go to
Confessional,
confession? And something else, they always ask questions in meetings, when was Hitler born, and this and that and all. And it took me a long time to remember.
Did you know anybody who was regular friend of yours that turned into that kind of a person?
Well, the girls we were not, but the parents, I mean, we girls, we were,
You were kids.
yeah, but some of the parents,
Got very...
they were, next door to us, my father, next door to us was a guest house, Wirtschaft. And my father came home from work and so on. Sometimes he would go over there and ask for a beer if he couldn't have. We have no beer. They offered him lemonade, that stuff they made from a package.
Right.
And he says, but the Bonzen, he said, that was the party guys, they were sitting there and drinking the wine out of steins, you couldn't tell. And Mr. Appel, he was a little guy in the party, something a little bit, I don't know. But after the war, when the war was over, when the Americans came, and the Americans collected them all, and they put them to Hammelburg, in the camp. Then they went around and wanted people to sign, that they didn't do anything, blah, blah. My father said, remember the lemonade? Forget it.
It was you!
Remember the lemonade? I'm not going to sign. Go to Hammelburg. I don't know how long they had to stay there. A couple of weeks or a couple of months. I don't remember how long they were in camp, also It was a camp, or what was that? A jail? I don't know what it was.
Did it tear the village apart, or was it still a pretty close village once all this started?
Well, for a while, people, the Nazis, they were kind of quiet, you know. They were kept to themselves, I guess.
This was after or before?
That was when the war was over.
After,
you know,
right,
they-
I'm talking about before, when it
before.
started. Was everybody
Well, people were afraid of your neighbors. You couldn't say anything.
really?
You couldn't say. I remember we had no radio, and but they had a radio in the school, and they had a loudspeaker. You could hear it all over the village. And the people who had no radio, they had to go in the schoolyard and listen to Hitler's speech. But my mother, she must have been May 1st. She was up the hill and was taking care of the potatoes, you know, already. Planting was doing something. And one of our neighbors, she knew my mother was missing in the crowd there.
Wow.
And she said, "You were not down and listened to Hitler." And my mother said, "I could hear him better up there than you down there." I mean, it was not a good night, good time. No.
No, it was.
You know, everything was quiet now. So, I don't know.
Well, you were two daughters, right? Two daughters and two males? I'm sorry. Your brothers and sisters.
Excuse me?
Your brothers and sisters. You had
I had two sisters and
two
one
sis-
brother.
Two sisters and one
Yeah,
brother.
well,
Okay.
they were actually two boys, but the first one
The one
died.
passed away.
That was as an infant already, yeah. But I had two sisters and a brother. My second oldest sister, she was the good-looking one and the smart one. She was smart and good-looking, really, and she was very smart. 7 years school only. That was the way it was those
Right,
days.
right.
7 years, but she was a straight A student all 7 years, and we had nuns in the village, and on Saturdays, sometimes they paid a little something, but they learned the nuns taught them how to cook
Right.
and sew and stuff like that, you know. Anyhow. But then when Hitler came, after a while, he changed it to 8 years. I went to school 8 years. I'm the smart one.
Did they stay there, or did they come here, your sisters?
No. My oldest sister, she had 6 children, and my other sister in East Germany. The Americans took that, but they gave the part of Turin, they gave that to the Russians, you know. So she was under communist, you know, under communist regime, whatever you call that.
Now, your brother got drafted, right? Your brother
My brother, yeah.
got, when did he go into the service?
I guess he only was in the Navy for like a year. When he was 6 years old, he was born in 1921. So, and he died 10 days before his 20th birthday. So he was, I don't know,
Oh, he's 19 then.
he died in 41.
Right.
So he must have gone early 40s or something like that. I don't
Right.
remember that.
When he joined, did he have a choice to go into the Navy or the?
Well, he was tall and blonde, and they wanted him to be in German they said Hitler's Leibstandarte. I mean, personal, whatever, those guys around him. And he says, no. He says he wanted to be in the Navy. He wanted to be in the Navy. And since we had a French last name, he needed our
Genealogy?
family, history, the family, all the way back to France. He had the right to all to the things and so,
Right.
you know, whatever, however they did that. And because they wanted to see if there was any Jewish people in there.
Right.
Something like that, I forgot. I don't remember too well, but I remember we needed the history, the Stammbaum, they said, you know, because the French name,
Do you still have that?
I don't
No.
know. My sisters had those things. I'm not a.
Now he passed away. He passed away in the Bismarck, correct?
Yeah, he went down with the Bismarck. Yeah.
So how did you find out that he he had passed away?
Well, they notified us.
Okay.
Yeah,
Or like telegram, or did they
No,
come to the
I
door?
guess-
Or?
I don't know. I think somebody came. I was at work. I worked in the after 8 years schooling. I worked in the culture, in the woods, in the forest. I worked in the forest. When I came home from work, they had the notice already. They had somebody probably knocked on the door and told them. And then you should hear my mother,
Yeah.
my father. You want to go to jail? Oh, she called him. Oh, I don't know. For days, she went on for days, screamed and called them Spitzbub and I don't know what else. Bad names she called them. And it was her only son. She lost him. So, but it was, how can I say, it was a nice, I mean, we were poor, but it was still a nice life to grow up there because you don't know any different. And most
Right.
people were poor.
Right.
You
Well,
know.
your friends were poor, so.
You know, most people were poor, and I mean, we were not on welfare or anything like that. You know, we were just cash poor. We had, everything was homemade. You know, clothes and everything was homemade. But otherwise, I don't know. What else? What else do you want to know?
Oh, I guess after the at the end of the war, you
Oh,
said
yeah.
there was just minimal damage to your. There was really no.
Yeah, well, yes, there was only one woman. Well, she a couple of days before the Americans came, there was still German military there, and they were kind of moving. And the little mosquito plane up there, the mosquito that goes up there, the spy plane.
Right.
We used to call them the mosquito, the Staunzer.
Right.
And well, there was a surveillance, and they knew there were a lot of activities there, you know. And some people were in the cellar, in the shelter, and somebody came to the shelter and said to the woman, she says, "Your house is on fire." They bombed her house. Just fire bombs they threw in. And she wanted to run. She said, no, stay here. No, my house is on fire, I go. She didn't live far away. And she went and wanted to go take stuff out of her house with her.
Right.
And she got hit by a grenade. Full. There was nothing left of her. Just fat, like if you put oil on the windowsills,
Right.
it was fat. That was all it was.
German grenade or American?
No,
grenade?
American. The Americans were shooting, you know, the grenades, and you know, they were fighting, and she got hit by a grenade. And her husband was missing in Russia, but he came back.
Really?
Came back, and then he married his sister.
Oh.
Keep it in
Oh,
the
yeah.
family. Keep it in the family.
Well, anyhow, but like I say, if she had stayed in the shelter, she would
She
have been
would've been
alive.
fine, right.
But she had to go out and,
How long was the fighting for in the village?
excuse me,
How long? Like days or a couple days? One day?
I think it's maybe just a day or two.
Yeah.
Probably just one day.
Right.
I think we were just in the shelter for one day. Yeah. One day only.
So how was life after the war?
Well, it was terrible. My father died. No, my father died in '48. Everybody was unemployed right away.
Right.
And no, that's not after the war. Sorry, that was after '48 unemployment. But it was still ration card. Everything was, you know, ration. And
Oh, ration. Right.
ration,
Oh, yeah, right.
you know, you had the cards, whatever.
Yeah.
And we still lived, I don't know, we ate potatoes, like 3 potatoes, boiled potatoes in the morning for coffee, breakfast. You just dip it in salt and that was your breakfast, you know. And they were counted, potatoes were counted, you know.
Did you still have your chickens and geese and
Yes,
goats?
yes,
You
yes.
did?
But you could have only, because we were 3 people, Mama, Papa, and me. And so you could have only 3 chickens. If you had more chickens, you had to give the eggs up.
Where was your sister? Where were your sisters?
Well, they were married.
Oh.
They were married, you know. My sister were married. And we only had 3 chickens. And but we had the goats and this, yes, and the geese for the feathers, and but I think did we still raised the pig, but it didn't grow so big. I don't know. But then 48, when my father just died a week before they changed the money.
Mm-hmm.
And you started out, everybody, 60 marks. You gave 60 old marks and you got 60 new marks.
Mm-hmm.
So it was only my mother and myself left. And I wasn't much. And she only got, it took a while before she got Social Security. She only got 32 mark Social Security at the beginning. So it was a bad summer. We took the hand wagon and we went out in the forest and pulled it up, and we were digging up roots from ferns, a certain type of fern. The roots, the pharmacist would buy them. Okay, we did that, we sold them. We just made enough money to buy a loaf of bread. And then we would go pick blueberries, and that was very, very bad year too. We went to the whole forest before we got the things full, a can full, and again you could just buy like a loaf of bread. So it was bad for us. Everything was black market.
Right, right.
Ah, well, that's about it. And then, I got married.
I know your feeling. I've seen that face.
I hadn't. No, I never thought. I never looked for a husband. I didn't want to get married. My sister, I always had to babysit, and I said, "Get married. That means you get children." So I didn't want to get married, and I married a guy that I didn't really want. My mother pushed and pushed. I was already 26 years old when I got married, and but it didn't turn out. And 15 years it was. And he was, there was unemployment so much also. So he had his uncle and aunt, I guess it was on his father's side, they came, was visited to Germany, and they talked him into to go to America. Mm-hmm. He was a tailor by trade. We worked for a tailor. We made homework, that's what it is, homework. And so he took off to America, and I came 10 months later.
So he was his sponsor? Who was he sponsored by?
Oh, he had sponsors. The uncle, they were sponsors.
So the uncle already lived here?
The uncle and aunt, they lived here. Yeah, they came after the First World War.
Oh, okay. So they were...
And they were visiting in Germany, and so they talked them into go to America, and you have...
Now, why did you stay behind?
He wanted to see first what it is like.
Mm-hmm.
No, he wanted to be free.
I'll call for you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Send a cab.
Yeah. And I tell you the truth, if my son was born in Germany already. Mm-hmm. If I hadn't had my son, I wouldn't have come. Not because of America, that's so far away. Oh my goodness,
you have a gift coming.
You need that. Thank you. My mouth is dry.
Did you come by boat or plane?
I came by boat. The America. Yeah, we came on to America. And now I forgot his name. Anyhow, later on I remember maybe. So 10 months later, it took that long for the papers and everything.
So you came by yourself?
With my son then.
Okay, with your son. No friends, no family, no...
No, nothing. Okay. Nobody.
So that was, what, a 10-day trip?
We were 48 hours late because they had storm. That bad storm, we were 48 hours late. It was supposed to take 6 days. Uh-huh. And it was 8 days. Yeah, okay. 8 days. I came on the 20th. I don't remember when we left.
What were your thoughts? I mean, you're moving to this new country.
I don't know. I was homesick. Oh God, I wrote a letter home every day. When we lived in Westchester, no neighbors there. Everything. And I didn't speak the language. Oh my goodness. No, but then when we moved to Manhattan, Then I liked America.
City girl.
Well, you also had German communities in Manhattan too.
Well,
I mean,
because I had papers and it was everything there.
right.
In Westchester, we had to drive, once a week we went shopping, and if you forgot something, you do without it. Because it was we shopping in Mount Kisco, I guess we lived in Thornwood, and no, my daughter was born in Mount Kisco. Anyhow, I didn't like America, I'm sorry.
This was husband number one still?
Huh? Yeah,
Yeah.
number one, yeah. That was the womanizer.
The woman.
Scratch cut.
So how many children did you end up having?
I have two.
Two.
I have two, yeah.
A son, a boy and a girl.
Yeah, boy and a girl. I talked to my son. This morning we talked, yeah, about fish and stuff like that. He lives in Westchester. Now he lives upstate New York. And I said, you remember when we lived, in Westchester? I said, about fish. He was a little boy. And we was walking around. There were a pond there. And we went there and I was fishing there. So I took a piece of stick and I put my white handkerchief on it. And I said, look, fish. I said to him, take. And the fish came, but was a hook on it.
Right, right.
The fish really bit on the handkerchief, and when he pulled, the fish got away. He says, Mom, I remember that. That's the only thing I remember from Westchester. Oh, anyhow. So, but now I like America. I'm American.
Where'd you live in the city?
First we lived in Washington Heights. Everybody was Jewish. And they spoke Yiddish or German. So I understood Yiddish and I understand German. So I was okay. And then we moved to 16th Street. I lived there for 16 years. And then I got married again in Camden, New Jersey.
Now, did he pass away or?
My husband, yes.
He passed away?
Well, he became a member in 1980.
No, your first husband.
Oh no,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I like to say it. The bastard is still alive. But I don't care.
Have a drink. I like that. Mine is too.
I wish him to live 120 years because he get 120 years old because he has a young one. Well, she's not that young anymore either, but she's about 20 years younger than he is. And
Is he in Westchester or New York City?
no, he lives in New Jersey now. He lives in Jersey.
He's following you.
No, there's no contact, no nothing. Forget it. Ooh.
So then you met your second husband, I
Yeah.
assume in New York.
In New York on 8th Street in the Wienerwald. So,
So that's me.
Is he German?
Now, Bill, no, American. Bill was. Oh, he had German ancestors, oh yeah, and Austrian. He's, one of his great-grandfathers came from Hanover, and then his grandmother, they came from Austria, grandfather from on the other side, they came from Austria. His father's parents, and his mother's parents too. His grandmother, I mean.
Are you working yet at this point, or are you working or still a?
Or just raising your family.
Well,
When you got remarried. That
when I
was
remarried,
70.
no, I was working a little bit in the school cafeteria in Union, in Washington School. Do you remember?
Oh, I live right around there.
Huh?
I live about 5 blocks from there.
Oh yeah. Well, because I didn't drive, what do I know? I only know how to clean pots and
Did you move
pans.
to Union?
We live in Union,
Where in Union?
on Tucker Avenue,
Tucker.
next to the YMCA.
I just moved there, so I'm still getting acquainted.
And
Is it near Washington School or no?
well,
Because I live off Stanley.
well.
Name a bar.
Yeah.
No, I
don't go to any bars around there.
Oh.
The neighborhood has changed.
I live. Tucker Avenue is, you know where the ball field is, the Union, there's a park. There's the YMCA, you don't know?
Oh, yeah. By,
And then next to church, there's a church next.
yes,
and then,
synagogue. There's a synagogue over there.
No, it's not a synagogue, now it's a black church. Well, it doesn't matter, it's a church.
But you have the Irish bar across the street.
No, there's no bar there.
Well, down that. I guess.
And then there's the YMCA. If I go out the back door, by us where I live, and then it's Chestnut Street. And then it's a
Okay.
hospital.
Union-
Across the street
oh,
is
Union
the
Hospital.
The Union Hospital.
Oh, so you
across
live,
the street.
okay, so you live off Salem.
Oh no, no, I live that direction. Salem is 5 Points.
Right, right, right.
But I live on Tucker Avenue. Do you know where the Dunkin' Donuts is?
Sure.
Well, I live up the street there.
Okay, okay.
Right up the street.
Oh, isn't it that little weird right off 5 Points? That weird exit off of. There's like a little. There's a restaurant on the street.
Oh, I still call it Tritolas. But,
Yes.
it's
yes.
an Italian restaurant.
Yes,
It's
yes,
not
yes. Okay,
Tritolas
now I know
anymore.
where you live. I know where you live.
I live, that's where I live.
There's a senior housing back there.
Well, yes. Yeah.
Got it.
Well, I live in the condo.
Hmm.
And there's a senior over here and over one.
And that's where you always lived?
Yeah. I lived there for 40 years already.
Nice, nice.
Got old there. I was not of age when I got there.
So what made you move to New Jersey?
Because my husband was from New Jersey.
But you met in New York.
I met him in New York when he didn't want. He was in New York all the time with his first wife too. He was a widower.
Hmm.
And but they always went to New York. But he didn't want to live in New York.
Hmm.
Just visit. So I had to move to New Jersey.
And how was that?
I don't get used to it.
No.
No, I was used to in New York. You have everything there. The restaurants, the stores, the theater, the
That's a big jump from a small girl in a little village
2,000 village, yeah,
to
2,000
move to New
people.
York City.
Oh, I loved it. I liked it.
You think that would scare somebody, you know, like
I only was scared to raising my children.
right.
When I heard about that dope stuff and all that, then
Right.
I never heard about that stuff because I had no idea there's something like that happened, you know, exists. But then, and I heard about it, I used to say to them, if you do that, do yourself and me a favor and take an overdose and kill yourself. Mom, you want us to kill ourselves? I said, if you start that stuff, I said, life is not worth living if you do something like this. No, we didn't, Mom, they didn't. And
So they're still good kids.
sometimes they got it too that way,
Yeah.
like I did.
So they
Can't
turned
do
out-
that anymore. They call it
I know,
rapists.
I know. Can you imagine that's the reason they're also well behaved now these days?
I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you.
That's the reason they're all so well behaved today.
Now, did you go to Fortress Grove, or was it always the Deutscher Club?
Always a Deutscher Club.
Always Deutscher. Now, how was
Well, we used to go on Friday evening to the Hofbrauhaus in the center, and there were a riot, maybe 7 or 8 men there, always sitting on the bar, and they got to talk, and they said they belong to the German club, and they said, "Oh, you have to go there, you have to go there," and so on. Bill, okay, we go there, and that's how we got.
Do you remember who any of these men were? Do you remember who any of these men were at the
I didn't
Hofbrauhaus?
know. No, I didn't know.
it's now a Portuguese restaurant, the old Hofbrauhaus.
Yeah, well,
The food's very good, actually. It's still good. Oh, it's still good. Me and
yeah?
Sonia and I go there.
well,
quite
I don't go out anymore. I just.
And then when did you join the club? What made you?
Yeah. When you came here, was it an open event, or was it just? You know,
No, we had a sponsor. Well, yes, no, it was not. Was not open to the public. So we decided to come here, but we didn't know you know. Then somebody signed us in. Todd, I guess Todd was. I guess he's still a member. I don't know. His last name is Todd or something like that. And we were there, but they wouldn't let us in. So he asked Gottfried, and well, Bill said. I filled out an application already. We had already an application I filled. And then he said, okay, I sign him in. So that man signed us in.
nice.
But then 2 years later, but only my husband became a member. But 2 years later, then I became a member too. Because I was doing the dishes and everything, so I said, okay.
You were more German than your husband.
Well, I was born in Germany.
Yes.
Right. You just had ancestry, right?
But he had German ancestors. He always thought he was Irish. He had one Irish grandmother. But he says, I was brought up Irish. I said, well, but when his father spoke German, he said, I didn't know my father speaks German. when we got married and he talked in German to me,
Right.
his father always, and he says, I didn't know my father spoke German. I said, he didn't know you had German ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
He thought he was all Irish.
Irish.
That's the reason he loved to drink. Germans
Well,
like to drink too.
Well, my mother wants me to play bagpipes, so if that makes you feel any better.
Oops.
Yeah,
Sorry.
oh, don't worry about
The
it.
clean.
We'll get it. The Tuesday crew will get it. So you joined in 1982,
Uh-huh.
and well, but so what are your sort of your fondest memories here? What
Any
made you
good
keep on
stories?
coming back?
Some good dirt?
I'm sorry.
You can answer his if you want.
But
Any good dirt stories? Any good,
dirty ones?
not dirty
No,
ones,
I mean things like this. Well,
funny
my
stories.
father, my father, he had a very good voice, a very good tenor. He was singing all the time. And Schuhplattel, and he swung his skinny legs around, and he on Friday he would come home and give my mother, his paid envelope, whatever, and she gives him 2 marks. That was it. And on Sunday he would go out and had he was drinking apple hard cider because the beer was more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when he would come, oh my God, she used to say, he sings already again, that means he's drunk. He sings, but he was a happy drunk. He would swing her around and squeeze her and kiss her on the cheek. You nut, she would say, get away. Anyhow, so my father, he was a happy-go-lucky man. He was a good man, yes. Only once I got from him.
Just once?
Once.
Mm-hmm.
And I was during the war, towards the end of the war, I remember that. And one of my nieces, she came, they lived close by. Can we eat with you? Oma, can I eat with you? And I said, no, we don't have enough for ourselves. My father said, don't you ever say that again. Oop, I got one.
Well,
Bang.
How about good stories here, though? You have a good Deutscher Club story?
Oh, Deutscher Club stories.
Stories.
Well, Sundays we come on Saturday nights, and that was also before I worked in the kitchen. That later on she caught me in the kitchen because when we clean up, we were in the clean up, and she says, now who's helping you in the kitchen, with the dishes and all of that? I can do that. So that's how I ended up in the kitchen for 10 years. And we always came Saturday night for the dances. And Sundays we would go out to eat someplace. We take a ride on Sunday. And in the summertime we go further away. In the wintertime we stay closer. And then we ate. And then the cars knew exactly where they go. To the things. It was nice. It was really, really nice then.
I heard back then they had setups on the tables for dinner.
Well, we weren't eating here. We were eating out.
But
someplace.
Saturday nights,
Saturdays.
what do you mean setups?
you would get a bottle of whiskey.
But we were sitting on the bar.
Oh, you're bar people?
We were bar flies. And the
You're
bar.
still a bar fly.
And but it was always full. The bar was full, and some people even sitting by the table and all. And they played music, and it was sehr gemütlich, really gemütlich.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why not anymore. Why that changed? I don't understand that.
We're here.
Yeah,
Well,
what's
tonight is pretty good, but there was a man, on the end he would be missing. So ein Tag so wunderschön wie heute dürfte nie vergehen. Do you understand that? A day as nice as today should never end. There is a song,
Right.
a German song, and everybody was singing on. It was nice.
Well, the club is changing a little bit.
A lot.
You don't.
America has changed. The club has changed. Everything.
Well, there's no
changes.
more Germans coming over on the boat anymore.
Yeah.
I go back 8 generations before I get to Germany myself. So it's.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit-
No. I was surprised. I was surprised when the wall came down. Between East and West.
Mhm.
I guess no East Germans came here.
Right.
See, the West Germans after the war, they came to America.
Right.
Like we did. But the East Germans didn't.
So they're lazy. I guess the communist lifestyle,
The lifestyle, yeah.
they're ready for the handout, like
Yeah,
total
yeah.
welfare people.
Yeah, well, I must say, my niece and her daughter and the family, they live there. They live in Thornheim, where Bach got married, the Bach church. Oh my goodness, they make such a big thing out of it. Well, anyhow, well, they had, anyhow, they knew what it was like in West Germany because my mother, she would send packages. And she would put flour in the package. She would say to my right-in-law, make sure you're going to sieve the flour. She put money inside the flour. You know,
Right.
And look through, maybe there were worms in there, she would say, or something like that. But they knew that in West Germany the life was better. But in East Germany, it wasn't. I always would send my sister money
Right.
so she could buy herself a little refrigerator and stuff like that. But they worked hard. They had a farm, but they took it away from my sister. They had a farm, and they took it away. It was then they make kolchose, they called it, I guess, or something like for everybody. And then you don't have the incentive to, if it's not your own anymore,
Right,
to
right.
work so hard.
Right.
Then if everybody,
To appreciate what you did. Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah. So, but the girl, she's well off too. She's Heike. She started out as a nurse, but now she's in the hospital, big shot. I don't know, administration or I don't know what she is. Big shot. Oh, they're smart. They're my sister, you know, their sister. They're offsprings. My smart
the kids,
sister.
yeah.
But they're smart, and they have two boys. They all this. When I call, they speak better English than I do.
Oh yeah, all the young kids know. All
And and the big one, the older one, he was in America already doing after well, he was finished with college. He came, I guess he was in San Francisco. I don't know what they say. And the young one, he's finished too now already. But they're smart. And they make money. They travel and everything. I said, you want the communists? No. No, they don't want the communists. They live on it. They know what it is when they live free. Well, that's about it.
You have a good life?
Well, I'm happy. I'm satisfied.
Good.
I'm satisfied.